I remember when Smash used to just be this fun little fighting game, without all the hype surrounding it. This franchise is undoubtedly at its ultimate peak. Literally, which makes me wonder how the series will even go from here. Just like with each iteration, I eventually grew up to take these games a little more seriously, and now Smash stands as one of those online games that can easily cost me several hours at a time. But speaking personally, I kinda miss when Smash used to feel like this imaginative dream of crossovers. When I saw Kirby punching Yoshi, I felt that in my bones. I was genuinely caught off guard whenever a new fighter popped up on my screen. Each stage felt like a real place to me. And with Brawl, that was the peak of my childlike wonder. Everything felt unbelievably rich in scope. So I want to highlight how this game represents a moment in time right before I knew what all the hype was about. An immersive side of Smash that I feel like I've lost over the years. I think it's important to start with what got me into Smash in the first place, which began when my cousin used to visit and bring his own GameCube to play with me and my sister. Of course, like everyone else, my cousin had Melee. From what I remember, I wasn't exactly a little gaming prodigy. In fact, I probably wasn't even pressing any of the right buttons. But that didn't matter because I loved how bright and colorful the game was. I distinctly recall loving Yoshi's Islands and Pokemon Stadium for how dynamic they were. Sadly, I don't think my cousin ever unlocked Pokefloats, so I missed out on peak stage design as a kid. But this is not about Melee because eventually my cousin would stop bringing his GameCube over. Thus, I stopped experiencing Melee for myself at the time. It's interesting now learning about the hype leading up to Brawl. It seems like so many fans were plugged into all the E3 and Smash Dojo coverage. I was not one of them. In a time well before social media, I was completely oblivious to any of that at the age of 7. My scope of web surfing was limited to Club Penguin and Pop Tropica. You want to know how I found out about Brawl? Randomly stumbling upon it at Target in 2008. It was one of those family weekend shopping trips when we were free to browse the coveted game section while my parents did all the boring shopping. We already had a Wii back home, but we didn't have too many games for it. At most, we had Wii Sports, Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Party 8. 3 banger titles on their own, but since me and my sister had prior experience with Melee, as soon as we found Brawl on that Target shelf, this was our next game, even if Mario looked a little mean on the cover. We had an absolute field day the moment we put that Brawl disc in our Wii. Back then, the roster felt huge, with a bunch of new characters we had never seen before. The first time I saw Samus lose her armor and transform into a completely different character was utterly mind-blowing. Since I never knew about the Smash Dojo website, this was an authentic surprise to me, and that was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of secrets. Trophies, stickers, characters, stages. I was simply unprepared from the sheer amount of content packed in this one title, so unaware that I didn't even know that Sonic was even in the game until I literally faced him as a challenger. The Subspace Emissary was genuinely so cool beyond words. Seeing all the characters interact with each other in an actual story? Yes please? I could not comprehend how this was still included in the same game. Looking back, the plot is easily overdramatic, but that's what I loved about it. Basically every fan's power fantasies were coming true. Only Smash would be able to pull off such a ridiculous yet epic crossover story like this. All in all, this masterpiece of a Wii game captivated me. If I grew up with a competitive background, I may not have been so kind to it, but from the perspective of pure discovery, I felt so spoiled. Even if I couldn't unlock everything as a mere child, I simply loved coming back to this game again and again, all offline. But eventually, that excitement had to die down. The franchise actually fell off my radar around 2010 to 2013, while I focused on my other favorite series like Mario Kart and Pokemon. But when that first reveal of Smash 4 dropped on YouTube, I was right there, properly plugged in this time. Though not as chronically online as more passionate fans, I still felt legitimate excitement for this title to release more than any other game at the time. I'll never forget this one memory from summer 2014. Smash 3DS was set to release soon and the Wii U version at a later unconfirmed date. Luckily, I had both systems and could not wait to get my hands on those games. I already played Mario Kart 8 and Pokemon X to death, so I was officially out of new games to play. I was experiencing this drought while at my dad's friend's house party. I felt like a fish out of water. I didn't know anyone, and as an awkward 14-year-old with social anxiety, that meant snooping around a stranger's house and playing my trusty 3DS by myself. While I was aimlessly scrolling through my Pokédex in Pokemon X, I began fantasizing about how awesome Smash would be on this little handheld. Remember, portable Smash had never been done before, so I legit thought my whole life was gonna change once Smash 3DS came out. Yeah, I was really that desperate. After Smash 4, New Horizons was the only game that could match that massive amount of hype for me. And when those two games finally released at the end of 2014, it felt like the floodgates had burst open. I was even more obsessed with Smash 4 than with Brawl, plowed through so much content within the first few days. This was also the first time I played Smash with other people outside my family, like high school friends and classmates. It was kind of a rude awakening just how baby I was at Smash, despite playing it for several years. So facing this wide pool of players forced me to be a lot more strategic with my playstyle. Not that I learned to be tournament ready. I don't think 14-year-old Nate could emotionally handle it. Despite being absolutely terrified of these sweaty skill levels, I was able to inadvertently learn how to mingle with people through games. I don't think I would have been able to break out of my shell as a teenager if it wasn't for Smash. Learning how to take the losses and laugh about it after. Of course, single player still played an important role in cementing Smash 4 as my new obsession, but this was when the series converted into an online addiction. I dabbled in Brawl's online mode right before the official servers shut down, and it was about what you'd expect. But with these two next-gen consoles, it was finally possible to face off against real people anytime, anywhere. Nowadays, that's normal for little Timmy, but back then, this felt like a huge step. Online Mario Kart and Pokemon could only do so much for me. I finally reached the age of having unlimited access to my own games, and I proceeded to abuse that privilege every day, as long as I kept up my good grades, of course. Is it a crime to say that I played Smash 3DS a lot more than Smash Wii U? The same base model 3DS with like a 4-inch screen? Probably, but hear me out. I wanted to play Smash whenever I could, most times away from my Wii U. Whether it was outside of my house or simply in my bedroom because it was comfier there, nothing was going to stop me from the one 3DS game I was dying to play all year. Brawl let me frolic in its playground, but Smash 4 forever hooked me in its amusement park. I look back at those 4 glorious years with lots of nostalgia, because I had the most love for Nintendo as a brand, even though the company itself wasn't doing so hot financially. Before being bogged down by everything feeling problematic, I was just so happy to immerse myself in anything involving Nintendo. I was the purest fan you could come across. When it came to Smash Ultimate, I was even more plugged in, but this time felt slightly different. I thought I was ready to anticipate each new fighter reveal like everyone else, but the "everyone is here" slogan kinda took care of that already. There was no way I wasn't gonna get this game, except for most of 2018. I still hadn't owned a Switch yet, so I was already preparing for the FOMO to hit me like a truck. Thank God that didn't happen because I got my Switch right when Ultimate came out. I was able to buy it off of my sister's friend, so it was one of the few times it felt like a literal Christmas miracle. The game was in fact not lying about the word Ultimate. I cannot understate how insane this much content fits into this one tiny cartridge. With how excessive gaming feels nowadays, I'll never forget how spoiled I felt once I saw that many stages. Carrying over from Smash 4 with the ever so slightly better online infrastructure, that meant I sunk even more hours into Smash than ever before. Playing Smash 4 every school night was child's play. Now I sink hundreds of hours, stumbling through match after match, but just wanted to fight one more time. I was officially a chronic Smash player. Without the skills. Listen, I was still not that good even with all that Smash 4 playtime, but now, the increased skill levels of everyone online forced me to be an above average player. Overall, I felt like I lost less embarrassingly this time compared to the Smash 4 days. That's what we call progress. Especially with my introduction to online friends for the first time, this was a great way to bond and sometimes annoy the people I met over the internet. Thanks to the countless arena matches, Smash became more of a social game at this point. Unlocking every single piece of content became secondary because I was so hooked on the online experience. And the rest of Smash Ultimate's run was history. It's pretty much the most well-documented era of hype thus far. Every new fighter announcement was always an event across social media. Much like the insane scope of the game, we were spoiled with the amount of DLC throughout those 2 years. Sora was a very nice bookends to making everyone's dream characters a reality. I personally didn't have a wishlist because Yoshi was already there from day one. I was just happy to be there for the ride. So now that we're fully removed from that unprecedented hype cycle, I look back at Smash Ultimate as an interesting point in time. Most people, including me, rightfully claim this as the most definitive Smash ever. While it's still not perfect, this feels like the game designed to make the most fans happy, and I believe it passed with flying colors. But I can't help but wonder, now what? Much like Mario Kart 8, how do you move on from the most definitive version of a beloved franchise? Earlier Smash games were popular, but social media propelled this series into the stratosphere. I think back to my early days with Brawl and how differently I treated that game. Before Smash became the competitive juggernaut, it felt like a playground of discovery. Brawl was honestly my Nintendo encyclopedia because of how much history bled into every aspect of the game. One thing I'd love for the franchise to return to is its historical celebration. It's not like it ever left, but slowly the focus shifted towards the flashiness of new characters and away from any other part of the game, such as the stages, bosses, and especially the trophies. More characters are always welcome, but there comes a point where Smash just becomes another crossover fighting game. What I adore about this franchise is how it celebrates the entire history of Nintendo up to its current release. It doesn't feel like a sleazy subliminal ad to buy more games, even diving into such niche games that I never would have known otherwise. Brawl might be the black sheep to some, but I think of it as a relic of what Smash used to be, before you could even update the game with new content. I don't believe either era is inherently better. I just prefer when Smash could truly let my imagination run wild, because that experience felt more intimate. Or am I just be getting old? I never thought Smash would explode into the cultural phenomenon that it is today. It's such a privilege having a franchise offer so much fanfare and content in one single package, without it feeling unnecessarily bloated. While I loved the communal energy the series brought, especially with Smash 4 and Ultimate, I do miss a time when I was left to discover all of its secrets on my own. I remember when it was okay for me to be bad at Smash, cause that wasn't the original goal of playing in the first place. Instead, I sunk my teeth into everything this game had to offer, filled my own imagination with the endless possibilities of each character, stage, and soundtrack, and truly appreciated Nintendo's rich history front to back, not through Wikipedia or YouTube videos, but through experience. And I hope Smash can maintain the importance of play in the future. But for now, if I want to transport myself back to being the purest Nintendo fan in the 2000s, Brawl will be my go-to, cause God knows I'm still not done with that game after all these years.